Hi, everyone. Thanks for all showing up. So before we start, if anyone doesn't have a little red card on their seat, we invite you to come to the other seats up here that have a red card. Or if you're thinking, I want to stay where I'm at, Brian has more red cards, and you'll need those at the end of our time today.
So you could just slip up your hand if you need one.
Cool. All right. Awesome. So the back couple rows. Okay, great. We'll get you some cards. Okay, so to start, we'll just tell you a little bit about ourselves. My name is Cassie. I am the career counselor here, and so my office is located above the DC. So I'm probably really close to where you're at a lot of times each day. A little bit about me. I did not have a traditional college route. So you guys are at Westmont right now, and perhaps some of you will just go here the rest of your 4 years. I went to 7 schools for undergrad and grad school. I love the outdoors. Santa Barbara is like my ideal city. Mountains, beach, lots of good food, and I just got married about a month and a half ago. Yeah. So that's, the focus of my life right now, in addition to career counseling here.
She's pretty great too, so you should take advantage of getting to know her. My name's Alexis Barrett. I work in Kerwood Hall upstairs in benefits coordinating, which is in human resources. So none of you will ever have a reason to come see me for work. So it's really exciting for me to be here with you today because I don't otherwise have a lot of interaction with students. I'm a good friend of Cassie's and really grateful for that. I'm originally from Northern California. Has anyone else? All right, I appreciate that. I love Northern California, but Santa Barbara is the dream. So very grateful to be here and to live in this amazing place. I am also married, but have 4 years under my belt, so a little bit longer than Cassie. A little less exciting, but it's still great. I love to craft. I like to thrift shop and do a little hiking. Thank you. With Cassie too. And really, it's just such a joy for us to be here with you today. We thought we might start by getting to know you guys a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. Can you raise your hand if, this is shaking because I'm just dancing around up here. Raise your hand if in high school you had an older sibling who went before you. That's a lot of us, huh? Oh yeah, me too. Cassie, you too on that one? Yeah. Raise your hand if you played a sport in high school. All right, that's a lot of people. Okay, raise your hand if you did Young Life or were involved in your youth ministry at church. Okay, a lot of you. Raise your hand. Okay, feel free to not raise your hand if you're embarrassed about this, but raise your hand if you didn't have the best reputation in high school. It's okay if you don't, but okay. Raise your hand if you were in leadership in high school. Oh yeah, that's okay, a lot of you too. Anything else, Cass?
Raise your hand if you know what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Oh gosh. I promise you that will change. Just kidding.
Okay, last question. Raise your hand if you have declared a major.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. Awesome. Okay. Oh, can I ask one more? Raise your hand. Okay, let's do both. Raise your hand if you've been a Christian your whole life. Okay, about half maybe. Okay, then raise your hand if you haven't been a Christian your whole life. Maybe you came to know the Lord a little bit later. Okay, that's awesome. Well, it's so fun to get to know you, like I said, because I don't really get that opportunity. And obviously, this isn't a super personal relationship we now have, but it would be nice if it was. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit about who you're becoming, and we're really excited for that because Cassie and I are obviously on that journey too. And let's just jump right in.
All right. Okay. So this is your first year in college. I know that when I was a freshman, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that who I was in college probably would affect who I was perhaps for the rest of my life. And so maybe some of you can relate to a little snippet of part of my story. But in high school, I did not earn that great of a reputation. And even though I totally believed in Jesus Christ and I knew that he saved me, my life did not reflect his kingdom or anything about him at all. And so thinking about college, I knew that this was a big decision, and if my lifestyle wasn't necessarily gonna look like it should be, at least a godly lifestyle, then I thought, well, at least I'll be surrounded by good people, so maybe that will rub off on me. And so I decided to start college at Azusa Pacific. I figured it's a Christian college, so I'm surrounded by good people, godly atmosphere. But I can tell you that my lifestyle did not change just because of the environment that I was in. And college in itself was such a big transition for me. Some of you might be experiencing, freedom for the first time. You might be having to make different decisions and choices that you've never had to face before. There's just a lot that goes into college and transition. Os Guinness, he wrote this book called The Call, and he says that transition challenges our sense of personal meaning or purpose. Okay, so transition challenges our sense of meaning. College is a huge transition, so let's just add that there. College challenges our sense of personal meaning and purpose. So this first year, you are going to be challenged with who you are, why you exist, why you're here, what's your significance. And so my time today is to give you a couple pointers of how you might be able to manage or navigate this really big transition, but super exciting time that you're in. So, again, this is a unique time, first year especially. You have the next couple years to think about your major, internships, what job you want to go into, interviewing, resume, all that kind of stuff. But your first year, you get to focus on relationships, okay? You get to figure out who you are. You get to draw closer to the Lord, and you get to know each other really well. So invest in that right now, because you're not always going to have that time. So my first point is you belong, okay? So just know that right now. You belong at Westmont, and you belong in this earth. God created you and put you here for a reason. If he didn't want you here, he literally just wouldn't have created you. So the fact that you exist says that you belong. And you belong at Westmont right now. You belong in this class chapel. You might be thinking, I'm transferring next week. Great. You belong here right now, though. And so I just encourage you to accept that and own that, and just be confident where you're at right now. The second point is to be who you are before you do anything. Okay, that doesn't mean don't get your stuff done, but there's so many activities and so many things that can distract you, whether they're good or not. And so sometimes it's hard to even know who you are and to be who you are, especially if you don't know who you are. And so now is the time to get to know who you are. My freshman year, I thought I would be a bio major. I have no idea why. I literally was thinking about this time with you guys. I was like, I really don't know why I thought I could do bio. But for whatever reason, I thought, I can't be a pastor, I can't be a teacher, I can't be a counselor. It's just way more respectable to be a doctor, so I'm just going to do that. So the first class in Intro to Bio, the teacher said, we're really weeding you out right now, okay? We're going to see if this is your major or not. And I thought, whatever, this is going to be easy. The first test I took was a huge, huge wake-up call for me, and I knew that I could not do bio. So the next semester, I take a career class, which ironically I'm teaching now at Westmont, and it helped me understand who I am, my personality. I took StrengthsFinder. Has anyone ever taken that? Okay. And these things that I just normally did, that I was drawn to, that I was good at, this assessment now classified them as superior strengths, and they were different than other people. And that hit me so hard. I realized that if people actually lived into their strengths, so you actually got to know what you're good at, what your personality is, how you're wired, how you process things, what you're drawn to, what you're interested in, what breaks your heart, where you thrive. If everyone went into a career or to a major that actually was conducive for who you are, everyone would be really satisfied. You'd thrive there, and then you wouldn't have all this unnecessary competition with other people trying to do what they're doing, trying to be what they're being, because God has made us all different. I'm sure you've heard that a lot, but it's true. And so 2 Corinthians 3:3, let's see. Probably should have had this bookmarked, huh? Okay. All right, I'll find it in here. Okay, 2 Corinthians 3:3. You are Christ's letter, not written with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not one on stone tablets, but on tablets that are hearts of flesh. So I'll read that one more time. 2 Corinthians 3:3. You all are Christ's letter, not written with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God. Okay, this is not on paper, on Instagram, anywhere, but it's on hearts of flesh. So that's us. So what does that mean? How does that come into play with StrengthsFinder and who you really are? Well, each of us are Christ's letter, but we each have a different letter to write to different people. Okay, you have a different story to tell, you have a different people group or population to reach, and you're all gonna reach them in different ways. And that's important for you to recognize. And so I really encourage you, if you're trying to figure out more of who you really are, or just want deeper clarity, I encourage you to come and take a personality assessment. Think about your values. Come and see about, how you're wired, how you process things, and what you're drawn to, and how that's different from other people. So this is not a plug to come to the Career Center, but it kind of is. So if that's where you're at, wanting to just know more about who you are, because this is the time, your first year in college, please come to our center. And then that's the second point. The last point is, once you know who you are, know whose you are. Okay, so the only reason you are who you are, how you are, is because a creator made you that way, and for a reason. There's another quote by Oz in his book, and it says, you are not called to something, a job perhaps, you're not called somewhere, a certain location or area, but you're actually called to someone, capital S, and that someone is Jesus. In Psalm 33, it says that he alone shapes our hearts and individually fashions us. And so that's just saying he's made you a certain way. So I encourage you right now to get to know who that person is that he's made you to be, whether it's on the worship team and leading us in worship, drawing us closer to the Lord, or it could be in a profession or a volunteer area. It really doesn't matter. There are so many different things he's called you to. There's not just one. But I encourage you to figure out some of that this year. And like Alexis said, I'm figuring things out all the time. Our letters or our stories are evolving as we grow. So take the time first year to start that process.
I told you she's great, right? Okay, so once you know that you belong here, that you're supposed to be in this place, once you start to discover who you are and who you want to be, and once you know that you are God's child, there's some strategy that's necessary. So in Cassie and my friendship, we work really well together because we're sort of two parts of one brain. Not that we're only half a brain each, but we both are wired really differently. Cassie is creative and thoughtful, not that I'm not, but... And then I'm a little bit more practical. I want the 5 steps to get to where we're going. And I recognize that, there's such value in both. And so when we come together, I love the way our conversations sort of evolve from, this is what I'm thinking, well, what are you going to do about it? And that sort of tug and pull. So today I'm going to talk to you about strategizing. It's really important for you to be thoughtful about who you want to be, but you also need to implement some habits into your life to actually get there. So let's talk about that a little bit. I had a really different experience coming to college than Cassie did. I actually loved high school. I was in leadership, I was involved in Young Life, I was an athletic trainer that got to do a bunch of stuff with different sports teams. I felt really well known and loved in my small community. And I wondered if once I got to college, everyone else would still see me that way, because I wasn't going to be involved in all of those same things that I had otherwise identified with. I didn't know how people were going to come to understand that that's who I was. I thought that that was important. But what I've learned over time is that who I am in my spirit is genuine to me and doesn't matter within the specific context of what I'm doing. That's not what gives me value, but who I am and who God has made me to be. What was also really significant for me during that period of my life is I got to shed a lot of labels that I otherwise had thought were important, but I realized weren't necessarily. And that made room for me to care about a lot of things that I had never really thought about and hadn't really been exposed to in my really small community that I grew up in and within the context of my parents' home. I learned about things like women in the church, social justice, and politics, and became passionate about those things in a way that I don't know if I really could have had I not had that really monumental transition of moving away to college. And I really hope that all for you too. Today, more than anything, we want to say to you guys, this is a big moment. It's huge. It's awesome. You guys have been here for a month now. Maybe you're getting a little bit settled in. Maybe you're not getting settled in. But this is huge, and we really don't want you to miss it. Your life will go on, whether you pay attention to it or not. You'll grow and you'll change, but if you live your life with intention, if you choose to cultivate these habits in your life, you can have a little bit of control over that. Granted, you don't get a lot of control when you're a Christian, but you do get some. And so we really just want to encourage you in that. We want you to ask yourself some hard questions about who you are at your core, who God has uniquely made you to be. What areas of your life need a little bit more attention, and in what ways do you shine? As Cassie's already said, it's one of the most important starting points for you to know that you're loved by God, that you're his child, and that you're part of his kingdom coming here on earth. For some of you, that might be a huge starting point. You might not be very sure of that. You might have come here out of your parents' wishes for you, or you might be, newly in relationship with God, and you might not really be sure what that looks like apart from your family's home and your church community, and so that might be where you need to focus your attention. And I just want to encourage you, this is a good place for that. This is a great place for you to lean into some of those doubts that you might be having, to have good conversation about who you are in your own personal faith. That's really important. The awesome thing about it is that there's a whole bunch of staff members and faculty who are here to help you with that. There's the campus pastor's office, there's the Res Life staff, your RAs, and 300 faculty and staff who literally exist, who spend their time to serve you. And that's really awesome. So lean into those questions. Maybe you feel comfortable with whose you are, as Cassie said, but you recognize that you could go a little bit deeper in that area of your life. And so you might want to think about what habits you might need to implement to take that extra step. For someone like Cassie, that's been reading a Devo each day before she, gets started with her day. And that's a great habit. For you, it might be cultivating conversations with people who aren't like you so that you can learn about different faith experiences. It might be worshiping or having church service in a way that your home church didn't have to help you explore who God is and the various ways that people worship and honor him. There's lots of different opportunities for you to grow in your faith. While faith influences every area of our life, maybe you would like to see growth during this season in relationships. What sets Westmont apart from so many other college experiences is community. And I know that becomes such a buzzword. Maybe when you hear it, you sort of turn off your brain. It feels more like a feeling or a thing we talk about than something you actually do. If that's you, I want to encourage you that that's not what community is. Community is a lot of hard work. It's showing up for people. It's doing things that make you uncomfortable. It's giving of yourself to meet someone else's needs. I was just at a woman's house last week. She's about 10 years older than me, and she's a Westmont grad. And she was talking about how she studied abroad and graduated early, and amidst all the achieving she was doing, she didn't make any lasting relationships. And she talked about that with a lot of regret. I think here at Westmont, there is this really significant academic rigor, which is what brought so many of you here, and I'm so grateful for that. But if you get caught up achieving and miss out on all the people that are here for you to invest in, you're gonna miss a big portion of what Westmont has to offer you. And I don't want that for you. I think for a lot of people, especially depending on your personality type, college is kind of the first time you have to work at making friends. I know for me, I grew up in a really small community. I spent 8 hours with the same group of people every day. So it's pretty conducive to friendship. Here, you might have small class sizes and a lot of free time, and it might be easy for you to pull away and do your own thing. Sometimes relationship takes a lot of work. And I speak from experience. Cassie and I are living this every day. We both work full time and have husbands, and yet we really value our friendship. And we spend a lot of time trying to be together and to sacrifice, in the other areas of our life in order to cultivate friendship. It's not all sacrifice, it's actually really great, but it takes work too. Maybe for you, school's where you want to see personal growth. You're going to have to learn time management, and you're going to have to learn to say no to friends who are constantly wanting to hang out. Maybe you have your sights set on grad school, or you want to start a company when you graduate, or you have a dream career in mind. What's it going to take for you to accomplish those goals? What's it going to take for you what habits do you need to implement to get you through to graduation? These are the big areas of your life. I know we're all thinking about them in one way or another, but you might also be exploring something more nuanced, like your racial identity for the first time. You might be shedding some labels that you loved and wondering who you are without them. I know in so many ways, like it was for me and it was for Cassie, this season of life is both equally scary and exciting. And maybe you're sitting there 3 weeks into school feeling lost and overwhelmed. Maybe it's just all too much. If school's harder than you thought it was going to be, or you're not really sure who you are outside of the context of your parents' home, I want to encourage you that you're in the right place for that too. This is a really good space for you to flounder a little bit and know that you're safe. You're safe to ask hard questions of yourself, and you're safe to look to others for the support that you're going to need. Do me a favor and everyone look around. Look to your left and to your right. I know it's awkward. Smile. Look behind you. This is an amazing group of people. I know. Look at them. They're all so cute. It is. It's such a good group of people, and potentially you're going to spend 4 years with them. I just want you to know that in this room, in the context of this life situation, there is so much depth to be had. You're going to develop so much over the next 4 years, and especially in this first year. And the relationships you make now will follow you the rest of your life if you choose to show up for them. So don't miss it. Lean into this moment and take advantage of it. If you guys wouldn't mind grabbing those red cards and checking them out. I know sometimes sometimes church services or chapel can be a lot of people talking at you, and that's like by design, so that's okay. But I also want to just encourage you to engage. If you're just here and listening and not really taking it in, then it's really not worth your time, and it's not worth anyone's time. So we want you to engage. So there's 2 questions. On the first side, what's one area of your life where you want to see some growth? So this is just broad categories, right? Maybe you're worried about school. Maybe you want to take some really thoughtful relationships. Maybe you really need to work on time management. Maybe you want to go deeper with the Lord this year. Think about those in broad categories. And then on the back, you're going to think about the question, what habit can I implement to see that growth in my life? And we really want you to just take a couple of minutes. Think about those things. If you think it's cheesy and dumb, that's fine too. But really, it's awesome. So don't think it's cheesy and dumb. So what I would have vision for you to do is write something on both sides. If you want to go deeper in your faith, maybe you'll commit to reading a Devo. If you want to go deeper in your relationships. Maybe you'll commit to hearing one person's faith story each week. There's lots of awesome things you can do. And then what's going to happen is you guys are going to have a couple minutes right now. We're going to ask you to do something really scary and take that commitment that you're making, and we want you to pair up and pray for each other, because this is what community looks like. It looks like setting goals and holding each other to them and saying, I want you to succeed. I want you to become better and grow deeper with the Lord. I want you to join in relationship. So you guys are going to have just a couple minutes, pair up, and write out your habits and your areas of growth. The worship team's going to come up, and they're going to close us out in one final song. So if you could just pray quietly, because everyone's going to be praying, so it will be a little loud. And then the worship team will come up and close us out. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.